is a stranger living inside your house. You've never met them, yet they know every secret you've ever tried to bury. They know the words you swallowed to stay polite. They know the rage you traded for a smile. Most people spend their lives trying to lock this stranger in the basement. They believe that if they stop looking at the door, the person behind it will simply cease to exist. But Carl Jung discovered a terrifying law of the human psyche. The harder you lean against that door, the stronger the thing on the other side becomes. You aren't avoiding your feelings. You are feeding them. Today, we deconstruct the architecture of the self through the lens of Jungian depth psychology. We will explore 5 stages of internal warfare, but pay close attention to point number 6. It is the most dangerous realization a human can have, and the only reason the rest of this makes sense. Chapter 1. The Architecture of Silence. Imagine your mind as a sprawling Gothic library. Most of the halls are well lit, filled with the you that you show the world. The scholar, the friend, the professional. But every time you experience an emotion that doesn't fit your ideal image, envy, bitterness, or a grief too heavy to carry, you tear that page out of the book. You toss it into the dark corners where the candlelight doesn't reach. You think you've cleaned the room. But Jung suggests that in the psyche, nothing is ever truly gone. It is merely displaced. When you refuse to acknowledge a feeling, you don't kill it. You simply grant it autonomy. By refusing to own the feeling, you allow the feeling to own you. But if these suppressed emotions are trapped in the dark, how do they manage to influence our waking lives? Chapter 2. The Law of Conservation of Ghosts. Physics tells us that energy cannot be destroyed, only transformed. Jung argued the same is true for psychic energy. When you repress an emotion, you are essentially trying to hold a beach ball underwater. It takes a massive, constant expenditure of energy just to keep it submerged. Eventually, your muscles fatigue. Your spirit tires. This is why the most composed people often suffer from the most sudden, explosive breakdowns. The energy has to go somewhere. It leaks out in the form of slips of the tongue, chronic fatigue, or unexplained anxiety. Jung called this the shadow. It is the sum of everything you have rejected about yourself. And the shadow is not content to stay in the basement. It wants to see the sun. But what happens when the shadow decides to wear someone else's face? Chapter 3. The Shadow's Mirror. This is the most subtle trick of the repressed mind. Projection. When we cannot face a quality within ourselves, we become hypersensitive to that exact quality in others. That person you find insufferably arrogant? Or that colleague whose need for attention makes your blood boil? Often, they are simply holding up a mirror to a part of yourself you've refused to integrate. You aren't reacting to them. You are reacting to the ghost of yourself that you see standing behind them. We judge in others what we fear in ourselves. It's a defense mechanism designed to keep your ego intact. But this internal war has a physical cost that no amount of logic can ignore. If the mind is a map of our secrets, how does the body begin to react when the map is ignored? Chapter 4. The Somatic Rebellion. Jung famously noted that the gods have become diseases. When we stop honoring the natural movements of our psyche, our need for grief, our need for boundaries, our need for truth, those energies don't vanish. They descend into the flesh. Modern psychology calls this psychosomatics. Jung called it the rebellion of the soul. Back pain, that has no medical cause, a throat that tightens when it's time to speak the truth, a heart that races for no reason. These are not malfunctions. They are messages. Your body is the final whistleblower, screaming the truths your mind is too afraid to whisper. But listening is only the beginning. To truly stop the cycle, you must perform an act of internal alchemy. How do we turn this leaden repression into something that actually serves us? Chapter 5. The Alchemical Integration. Jung looked to the ancient alchemists not for chemistry, but for a metaphor of the soul. They sought to turn lead into gold. Integration is the process of inviting the stranger out of the basement and sitting them at your dinner table. It means looking at your rage and saying, "I see you. What are you trying to protect?" It means looking at your sadness and saying, "I hear you. What have I lost?" You don't become good by suppressing the bad. You become whole by integrating the dark. This is the path to individuation, becoming the person you are actually meant to be, rather than the mask you were taught to wear. However, there is one final realization, the dangerous point we mentioned at the start. Are you ready to see the monster in the mirror? Chapter 6. The Final Verdict. Point number 6 is this. Your shadow is not your enemy. It is your lost vitality. This is the most misunderstood aspect of Jungian thought. People fear their repressed feelings because they think those feelings are evil. But Jung realized that the shadow contains the very seeds of your creativity, your passion, and your strength. A man who represses his capacity for aggression can never truly be kind. He can only be weak. A woman who represses her grief can never truly feel joy. When you hide from yourself, you aren't just hiding your demons, you are hiding your power. The goal is not to be a perfect, sun-drenched saint. The goal is to be a complete human being. Stop trying to be good and start trying to be whole. Because until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. The basement door is open. Will you finally go down? Tell me in the comments, what is the stranger in your basement currently trying to say? I read every one. If this deep dive into the shadow rewired your perspective, consider subscribing. Let's master the laws of human nature together. Thank you for watching.